All right, guys. So an update on this OnlyFans situation, and the reason why I'm doing this update is because the reasoning for why OnlyFans is taking their content in a new direction. Remember, OnlyFans, they built their brand off of adult content, explicit adult content, women doing all types of ungodly things, right, on that platform, right? That's how they built their brand. Now, it was just a couple days ago or last week or something like that, they came out and said, hey, we're not allowing this explicit content anymore. The content on the platform cannot be explicit, right? And the rumors were they were doing this because they were trying to raise money. There may or may not have been some pressure from credit card companies and payment platforms and things like that. There was all types of reasons out there, right? I think the main one was that, well, they're trying to get some venture capital, right? And investors are having a hard time getting on board with the company due to the nature of this content. Now, the founder, Tim Stokely, has come out and basically told us the absolute real reason why they're going in this direction. And they're saying that the banks are forcing them to ban explicit content. Spicy content is what I will be calling it moving forward. Okay, now the reason why I'm talking about this is because I think it brings up an interesting conversation about how certain companies can dictate what is and what is not acceptable in our society. And guys, I always tell you, when it comes to politics, when it comes to a lot of this social stuff, the pendulum always swings the other way. And I really want to talk about this because this is a hard conversation, but it is an interesting conversation nonetheless. So the founder of OnlyFans blames big banks like JPMorgan Chase for forcing him to ban sexually explicit content, and says the company will absolutely bring back spicy content if Wall Street becomes more accepting. Quote, the change in the policy, we had no choice. The short answer is banks, OnlyFans founder and CEO Tim Stokely told the Financial Times on Tuesday. He said, quote, unfair banks often unfairly flag transactions or even outright refuse to work with OnlyFans due to reputational risks, making it difficult for the company to transfer money to the hundreds of thousands of sex workers who use the platform to sell explicit photos and videos. Stokely's comments come less than a week after OnlyFans announced it will ban sexually explicit content on the platform while allowing some nudity. Many sex workers who use OnlyFans said they were blindsided by the abrupt rule change after having built lucrative following selling dirty pictures and videos on the platform. Quote, I'm beyond disappointed in OnlyFans' decision. Angry and betrayed would be more accurate description. OnlyFans creator Courtney Talia, who rakes in between $20,000 and $100,000 per month on the platform, told the Post over the weekend. Bruh, some of these women, bro, they are making out like bandits, okay? You making 20 to 100K a month, right? A month. And all you doing is showing your feet, right? And other body parts and doing other things as well. But wow, right? I don't want to hear nothing about a gender pay gap. I don't want to hear it. A man could never get on a platform like that and make that much money, right? They could not do it. So I don't want to hear nothing about a gender pay gap. There's opportunities out there. Again, I don't recommend women pursuing these opportunities, but I'm just saying, if they're willing to pursue these opportunities like this person did, right? You can make a ton of money. Okay. I mean, I was just reading about a nurse who started on OnlyFans, and she's racking up like 200K in a month, right? I mean, this type of stuff is incredible, right? It's incredible. So again, miss me with that old gender pay gap stuff, please. Okay. Stokely argued that explicit content ban is designed to protect people like Talia. A decision was made to safeguard their funds and subscriptions for increasingly unfair actions by banks and media companies. We obviously do not want to lose our most loyal creators, he said. Stokely said that OnlyFans pays out over $300 million each month to more than 1 million creators. The founder also slammed several big banks by name for discriminating against sex workers. JPMorgan Chase is particularly aggressive in closing accounts of sex workers or any business that supports sex workers, he said. Bank of New York Mellon, meanwhile, has flagged or rejected every wire transfer associated with OnlyFans, making it difficult for the company to transfer money into creators' bank accounts, according to Stokely. He also accused London-based Metro Bank of abruptly closing OnlyFans' corporate account in 2019. JPMorgan Chase declined to comment. Bank of New York Mellon and Metro Bank did not immediately reply for requests for comment. Stokely said if banks become more accepting of sex workers, OnlyFans would absolutely allow sexually explicit content on his platform once again. Okay, so I'll admit, he could just be saying this as a cop-out because a bunch of women who are going to have to join the unemployment line are mad at OnlyFans, okay, for essentially ditching them right after OnlyFans became big. They're ultimately trying to sell out, right? That's what a lot of people are calling them, sellouts, because the rumors were they were trying to get venture capital. So, I mean, he could be trying to cover. This could be what it is, but regardless, that is interesting. That is fascinating, right? Because it creates this dichotomy where, you know, from a conservative perspective, right, there's a lot of social conservatives who are like, good, right? This is great. It is great that the banks are forcing OnlyFans to shut down this explicit content because spicy, explicit adult content is bad. And I do agree with the morality of it, right? Like, I feel like I've talked about the evils of explicit adult content before and how it's not particularly good for young men, you know, growing up watching that stuff, getting exposed to it, not knowing how to actually interact with real women, right? And it is, I think, led to some problems, some mental issues that a lot of young men have in regards to interactions with women. I really do. And I also don't think that it is particularly good for young women whom get pressure into this field because of the fast money, right? In which, you know, this line of work, again, it's kind of degrading, okay? And I feel like it can have negative psychological effects on young women. The fact that some of them are selling their bodies in exchange for money, it can ruin their potential career opportunities in the future. Again, I think that there's a lot of negative effects of this stuff, okay, that we can talk about. And there's an argument to be made that payment processors having the power to do this is good because they have the power to essentially change negative behavior, right? They have the power to weed out morally unacceptable behavior from companies, right? So there's also, again, a socially conservative argument for this type of stuff. But at the same time, I understand that the pendulum swings the other way. Because, guys, if you remember, right, when all this stuff happened with Trump earlier, you remember all these financial companies pulling out from the GOP, right? All these banks, right? All these financial firms basically saying, Trump, we don't want to work with you anymore, right? That essentially is cancel culture, right? That's the banks basically saying, we don't approve of you. We don't approve of what you do. So therefore, I'm going to cancel you. This is something that has been dealt with on the right? The same treatment that these sex workers are getting from these banks is the same treatment that some of these banks and some of these companies have shown towards conservatives, right? So there are conservatives that cheer this type of stuff, right, and think that it's good because we feel that it's morally wrong, and I agree it is, but at the same time, you got to understand this is a double-edged sword. When companies start acting like this and saying that we're not going to do business with you, and people accept this is socially acceptable, what happens is that it now becomes acceptable for them to do it with anybody they don't approve of. And we've already seen that they will do this with conservatives. We're already seen it because people got to understand that just because a, company decides that, hey, I'm going to agree with you one time on this morality issue does not mean that they're going to agree with you in the future on other issues, because these companies don't have a moral compass, right? They don't. They have a profit motive, and that's it. They're going to do whatever it takes to maximize profit. That's how it works. And that does not have a moral compass. Even though it will align with your morals and values every now and then, it's not going to all the time. And sometimes, again, if the company feels that politically it is more profitable to discriminate against a certain group of people, like conservatives, they will do it. And we've seen that happen. The same way these banks obviously feel that in the long term, it's more profitable to discriminate against sex workers because sex work is not mainstream, right? And they don't want to be associated with certain things that are associated with sex work. This is why they're doing it, right? It's all about protecting their profit. And this, again, is a double-edged sword. Now, also on top of that, we're in the midst of a conversation about vaccine passports, right? And how, a lot of conservatives feel like it's unfair and that businesses should not be allowed to require people to be vaccinated in order for them to enter their business. Now, libertarians are more like, hey, businesses can do what they want. And me personally, I think the answer is somewhere in between. But I guess what I'm saying is that, again, conservatives are also facing this, right? When it comes to the whole vaccine mandate thing, where, a lot of people say, well, businesses have the right to do this. And some conservatives are saying, no, the businesses should not be able to discriminate against people based off their vaccination status. So again, stuff like this, I'm doing this video because I think that this type of stuff is what people have to think about when they want to think about how the pendulum always swings the other way. And ultimately, I mean, these companies are trying to minimize their risk, maximize their profit, right? For a company like OnlyFans, homie said that he don't really mind having spicy content on the platform. He's doing it because of the banks, right? And from the bank's perspective, it's like, well, we don't really want to be associated with a company like OnlyFans because, when it comes to this type of content, a lot of things can get involved that is not acceptable in our society, right? In terms of the performers, right? A company like OnlyFans has to not only monitor their performers that they know are on the platform, but they also have to monitor the performers that perform with the performers. And that, again, is risky, right? It's risky to the banks. Banks don't want to take that risk of being associated with that or seen as supporting that. And when it comes to businesses and when it comes to this whole vaccine stuff, they kind of looking at it like, well, we don't want to be associated with having people come into our business unvaccinated, right? We don't want to take on that risk, especially without liability protection. So look, I don't really have an answer here, right? I just wanted to bring this to you guys' attention because I thought that it was an interesting conversation about kind of how these companies seem to dictate what is acceptable and what's not, right? What's allowed and what's not allowed. And this is just another example of that. And I've seen this, be used in a way that, some conservatives might agree with, right? But I also seen it be used in a way that conservatives don't agree with. So it's just some food for thought. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.